Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again for us tuning in our simulcast on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and on X. We're glad you all could be with us today. Going to bring in our friends over on Amazon as well as through IG so they can be a part of our chat today as well. Have a returning guest that's with us today, but she's fresh off her tour discussing her brand new book and having people being able to discuss it. And we're going to talk to her about that experience. And she's a part of a very special project the Conversations Media Group is doing as well. We're excited to tell you guys about. You guys who are joining us on the Amazon Live platform, welcome. And type you guys in a welcome message over there. If you guys are new to us on Amazon, make sure you guys do hit that follow button either here in this corner or down below. You also will see some of the books by our next guest. Dr. Anissa Short is back with us today. She's the author of the new book you guys can see here, Why I Said Yes. We're going to talk to her not only about the book, what it's been like for her to see the response, her tour she was just on with her husband, Alfonso Short, and what she hopes to be able to take away from it as well. Dr. Anissa, welcome back to the broadcast.
Hi, Cyrus. Thanks once again for allowing me the opportunity to be with you.
Look, the pleasure is definitely always mine. Katie Treasures, hello to you over there on IG as well. So, first of all, I got a chance to speak to your husband, Alfonso Short, while he was on tour. You and I had already had our conversation before you guys went on tour. You've had now a few days to recuperate, Dr. Nessa. What was it like for you to kind of be out on the road and to be discussing the new book?
It was pretty cool. It really was. Initially, the objective of the tour was really for Alfonso's book because it had just launched. I mean, the
Mhm.
1st of July. So that was perfect timing for us to be on the road in the month of July. My book had released back in May.
Mhm.
However, because we were going to see friends and people that I knew wanted copies of the book, we just made it a combination tour, so to say. The
Yeah.
reception was really good. I had two events, one of which was a brunch for women, a birthday brunch, and everyone got a copy of the book as a result of that. It was a small, intimate gathering. Both of mine were, as a matter of fact. So,
Mhm.
in one city, we did a birthday brunch, and another, we had dinner and dialogue. So, we were able to have conversation around the book. People purchased copies of the book. It was a great time. It really was overall.
Love that. Love that. And I think the thing is, and you and I had a great conversation about the book before you left going on tour, Anessa. And there's so many great things in there. We're going to talk about some of that today. But I was saying to you before we went on today that, of course, you and I have talked about this book here, and I'm going to highlight it for our audience on the Amazon side, The Quintessential Woman. And this book, of course, dealing with Proverbs 31, is one where you really are talking to the women. But I said to you before we went live here that I thought that this new book, Why I Said Yes, was a great bookend to this in that you talked about in the quintessential woman about the things about the woman and the things that she can be able to learn be able to use to grow in this book though you get more into the men also. What has that been like for you to be able to have that conversation with women not only about how they prepare themselves and what they should be expecting but also what they should be looking for when it comes to their mate?
That's a very interesting question. I want to say it that way. I never thought about these two books being bookends in and of themselves. The
Hmm.
Quintessential Woman was one I released on last year, and the premise behind it is speaking to women from a leadership capacity, from a legacy capacity, whether married or not. The fact that we carry so many giftings and we're talented in so many diverse ways, and it really speaks to using every gift and talent to your fullest and truly understanding who you are as a person. And so and it's a Bible study type of devotional, inspirational type of setup. So,
Hmm.
because I work with women and women in business, particularly, I felt that was important. This
Hmm.
next book, The Why I Said Yes, was released, of course, this year, almost a year later. And the premise behind it was really to share my story or our story, Alfonso and our story, but to do so in a way to help my sister friends understand the more weightier matters to consider if they really desire to be married, and what they I want them to, as a friend, as a friend, to be mindful of that a lot of the things that we place a lot of emphasis on are important, don't get me wrong, but they're not the heavier, more weightier things that we should consider. And so, in providing them with the characteristics I felt were important, I really was sharing the characteristics I saw in my husband, which led me to say yes with confidence. So,
Yeah.
I like to think I was the quintessential woman before meeting him. And then I guess, in light of what you've just proposed, I really believe every woman should be happy and content and satisfied as an individual before even considering marriage, because you are a
Mhm.
whole person on your onto yourself.
And you know what? The point you just made, and I think our audience probably picked up on this too, Anissa, is exactly why I think their book ends. Because as you mentioned, this book, The Quintessential Woman, was about embracing it. But you talk about in this book about not always being with people who embraced your gifts, that allowed you to be able to use all that you are.
Yeah.
So now that you are with someone, this is what see, that's why I be reading these
You're
books. That's why I
you're
be telling
brilliant. You're so brilliant.
no, no, I'm not brilliant, but see that is but now you see why I say because you talk about in this book now Alfonso didn't want you to change, and that is something some women deal with. Okay, can I be the most of myself
Right.
and be in this relationship?
That's true.
And you answer that in what you talk about with Alfonso and you. Now you also address something. Oh, Dr. Velma's over there too. Hey, Dr. Velma, good to be to see you. She says she agrees. You
Hi,
also
Dr.
talk about
Velma.
a conversation you had with your father,
Oh my God.
and well, well, you talk about in the book, in the new book, and I'm highlighting again for our audience on Amazon. Why I said yes about what you should know about a man, especially if he's interested in you. About you're not going to have to make him come visit or be the person. What was that like for you to reflect on when you were writing this book?
So here's the thing to know about my father. He has a certain sense of humor. So
Mhm,
a lot of things that he would share with my sister and I wasn't because necessarily we were facing some dating crisis or anything like that. He
mhm,
just would have conversations in general, and he always had things in a lot of times conveyed the messages in a comical way. But I
mhm,
do recall there being a time when I had a certain situation going on, and I didn't know that he was aware of what the situation was. And then later that evening, he says, "I'll tell you what, any man that's interested in you won't have to guess because he'll show you. He'll show up.
mhm,
You won't have to ask him to come visit. You'll look up and there he is again, and he's wanting to come back. That kind of thing." And then he said something to the effect of, "If his car only drives in reverse, he'll find a way to get down the interstate in reverse to come see you because that's just how important you are to him." Which
right.
which spoke to the fact that he said to us he didn't want us begging for anybody to come see us.
Yeah.
We weren't desperate. A man who really was interested would show himself as such. And so I heard him say that. My sister and I laughed at what he said, but it was later when I'm facing certain circumstances that the conversations came back to me. And
Mhm,
one that's another point. What I offer in my book are some of those things my father shared with me. And I believe sometimes women, because we don't have that protective layer in our families, whether it be a father having those conversations or a father figure,
mhm,
early enough, we find ourselves victim to, because men know men, just like women know women.
mhm. Yeah. And I think that's such a big thing. Hello to you. I see you guys coming over there on the Amazon side. Appreciate you guys. Lisa, hello to you over there on IG. Harold Michael Harvey. Hey man, good to be to see you. Haven't heard from you in a while, man. So good to see you over there on IG. Let's see. Alfonso is joining. He's in the chat. He says, "Good day. Both books are great messages for personal and relationship development for men and women." I totally agree with that, Coach, for sure. Dr. Velma says, good afternoon. Sorry about my man. It's okay. You're with family, Dr. Bauman. It's okay. No, I didn't take it personal for sure. So I want to say this though about writing. Why I said yes, because vulnerability. You are someone who's known in professional circles, Anissa, and people have a certain view of you. Were you at all kind of anxious as to how people would look at you, knowing more of the personal side of your journey?
Not really. My biggest concern was wanting to make sure Alfonso was okay with me sharing the story the way in which I was going to share it. And
Okay.
so when I had the idea and the concept came to mind, I covered it with him because I am sharing part of our personal. None of my books go into that much depth
Hmm.
about my relationships, particularly because I protect my marriage in that respect. But I
Sure.
felt like I owed it to my sister friends. I work with women. I owed it to them to help those who desire marriage. And I wanted to share our story, but not make the book centered around us exclusively, but there be a bigger purpose or a bigger meaning behind the book. And so
Hmm.
I know that some people might say, well, she thinks her marriage is perfect and her relationship. I don't really care what people think. I really don't. My biggest concern was Alfonso because this allows us to share about us in another way. And
Yeah.
it's not anything we hadn't shared before, but it hadn't been published. Let me put it that way.
Right. Well, one of the things that you do in the book, for those who don't have their copy, and of course now is a great time to get it. You can get it for only $7.99 here on Amazon right now. So make sure you guys take advantage of that. You running a sale on the book?
I was, but I need to change that because it ain't supposed to be 7.99. But that may look, act fast because that
Yeah.
price is gonna change soon.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So one thing you do, you give these characteristics in the book just so people who haven't seen it, but then you also give clues to consider. And I want to talk about chapter 7.
Okay.
Because it ties in again with the quintessential woman book and what the conversation we were just having. Characteristic number 7 is I felt safe being fully myself. Again, going back to what you were talking about when it comes to what the quintessential woman should be able to do and being able to walk fully in herself. But in the clues to consider for that, there's two of them you mentioned that I wanted to go over that I thought would be interesting. One, you should never have to shrink to be loved. And then the second one is the right man will not compete with your identity, he will support it. Again, seeing the connection with the two. So, talk to us about that because you are someone who is known to be in leadership. You're someone who's known to be able to kind of be up front, to be by yourself. What was it like for you to be able to find somebody, Anissa, who allowed you to do all that you did and was there to be able to not only support you, but also compliment you?
It's a breath of fresh air. I consider it a gift, honestly. And I say that in all sincerity because here's the deal. I was at one time in a relationship with someone who had an issue with who I was. I
Hmm.
didn't understand that to be the case at first, but
Hmm.
eventually I realized, if I could do nothing right, it was always an issue. Some other people would compliment me, but it was a problem. I was like, what is going on? Then I realized it's not me, it's him. This is
Hmm.
not who I need to be with. So when I met Alfonso, I never even thought about whether or not he would behave in that manner, but I knew that's not what I wanted. And it
Yeah.
was just the opposite. He has since day one. As a matter of fact, Al will push me to do things that I'm like, you think I should? He was like, absolutely, why not? That kind of thing. So it's a breath of fresh air. I consider it a gift. I'm extremely grateful. I'm blessed beyond measure. I was told once upon a time by a mentor that a woman who has a man by her side that pushes her becomes a woman and a half.
Hmm.
So that's what I feel like, a woman and a half.
Wow, that's powerful. So that second clues to consider then, as I mentioned, the right man will not compete with your identity; he will support it. What do you say to others out there? Because let's be real. I'm a single guy, but I talk to a lot of people, married and divorced, and one of the things that I hear about so much is feeling as though they have to change. They have to be able to evolve so that they are not kind of stealing the spotlight or feeling like they're trying to take the light, especially in the case some wives feel that way. And in some cases, in talking to some ex-wives who share, what, I felt like I couldn't be fully myself. What conversations are you having with people since you put this in the book and this about the importance of being fully present in who you are and knowing who you were created to be and knowing that you shouldn't have to settle in order to be able to be with somebody.
I've not had very many conversations with women from on the after the effect
Okay.
situation. I've usually had conversations with women that are single that desire marriage. It wasn't very long ago I was talking with a very talented, gifted woman. She's an excellent in HR in a leadership capacity. She's an outstanding speaker. She has an awesome presence. And she went out on a date and was extremely excited about the date. And she told me, she says, I found myself downplaying what I do.
Mm,
And I said, why? She says, I don't know why. I said, you just met him. I mean, I said, why did you do that? And I think maybe it's some societal norms that we have a misconstrued understanding of what it is for a woman to be submissive to a man.
mm,
I don't have a problem being submissive to my husband. I am still fully 100% Anissa,
yeah.
But at the same time, my definition of what it means to be submissive is not to shrink who I am. And a lot of times women will because, especially when they're in a leadership role, if they may be in executive space and they
Hmm.
feel like maybe he doesn't measure up in the sense that maybe he's not functioning in the same capacity. Not that you're playing tit for tat or saying
Right.
a dollar figure. But if she's working in a C-suite and he's not, then sometimes she's like, well, maybe I shouldn't make reference to my occupation and what I do because I don't want him to feel uncomfortable. Well, I feel like it's just the opposite. I've always felt that way. I was told I would probably never get married because a man couldn't do anything for me because I already had a great job and had bought a home on my own. And I was like, well, I think that's a plus. I believe the right man for me is going to say, what? You got your own home? You've invested in real estate? You got it going on. I want you as my wife. That's what I
Yeah.
said, and that's what
Right.
I found. Alfonso was like, why aren't you married? Are these men down there crazy? I'm like, obviously so.
That's good. That's funny. Hello to you, Rockland County Honors over on IG. Jamal Sanford, hello to you as well. Dorita, hey, Dorita, good to see you over there on Facebook. Glad you could be able to join us. And Dr. Bama says definitely a misconception. We're going to talk about the shows here, but I do want to point something out. I do things strategically. And so you
Okay.
do realize these books even are color coordinated
Yes,
together.
I like the color pink. I'm biased. Yes.
All right. All right. So let's talk about the show. So one of the other big things you've done this year is you've gone through some rebranding with your media company and you
Yeah.
started a new show. People have gotten to know you. You've been hosting a lot of stuff, but people have gotten to know you as the host of Conversation with Chosen Pen. But you
Correct.
also started now Amplified with
Yes.
Dr. Anissa Short.
Yes.
What has that been like for you to be able to walk in that and be able to expand in what you're doing in media and not be just confined to talking to authors?
Listen, that has been a refreshing change. It really has. I'm so glad I listened to my advisor when the suggestion was made because it has opened doors that I'm excited about. It wasn't that I was apprehensive about interviewing people outside of the literary space,
Hmm.
but as advised, when I inherited, so to say, Conversations with Chosen Pen, because it is an extension of the publishing platform. I
Right.
didn't want to box myself in, and so I
Hmm.
see how now Amplified gives me an opportunity to embrace creatives, entertainers, and then as I say, the extracurricular, those other topics and
Right.
events that might be going on to give me a broader reach. And so I'm delighted. It's been good. It's still in a tweaking phase, but I'm
Mhm.
excited about it just the same.
Well, I'm excited about it as well. And, I think what can happen so many times, look, 'cause it happened to me. When I first, I don't know how this happened, but I was initially, when I first started on the radio in 2003, people knew me for interviewing artists and authors. So I became the book guy. That's what people looked at me for. And I
Right.
was like, well, I mean, I do interview authors, but it's not the only thing I do. I do talk to other people. But I think, it's so easy for us to, because especially if it's something we enjoy, to kind of get into that. I want to talk about, though, in your building your media company, though, Anissa, that's another way you've been able now to shepherd people. You're doing consulting. Because now, of course, you are a host, you're a podcast host. Your people are coming to you now for advice on that. How does it feel to be able to find yourself as an authority in a totally different field, and then to be able to help people to create their own platforms?
So helping people has been a part of what I've done for years,
Got it.
everywhere I've ever gone. So that element of what I'm doing is comfortable. Now, to hear you say I have a media company, I'm thinking, who is he talking to? I don't have a media company. It was you to bring that to my attention. He said, how does it feel to have a media company? And I'm like, who, me? But then when you think about what I'm doing, that's exactly what it is, right?
Yeah.
So I'm really having to fully embrace that and to look at things from that lens rather than just seeing myself as being busy serving
Mhm.
with the various hats. I need to
Yeah.
look at everything even more strategically and from a holistic point of view, right? So
Yeah.
it's been a great ride. I'm grateful, I'm thankful. I'm doing what I have done in the sense of being a cheerleader for others, a champion for others' success. And I'm still doing that. I'm just now embracing that role and implementing it in a different package.
Right.
So thank you for acknowledging it and bringing it to my attention because I'm just busy working. I hadn't even thought about what was going on.
Well, for our audience out there, we talked about Conversation with Chosen Pen. We talked about Amplify, but she also, to come full circle, has a show with her husband, which brings to the last thing we're going to talk about, and that is Love and Laughter. That's one of the things, of course, that you're going to be highlighting during the month of August as well. And I want to let our audience know something we have not revealed before, that I'm excited about being able to share with you guys today. Is that Dr. Nessa Short and Coach Alfonso Short are part of a series that Conversations Media Group is doing in collaboration and promoting the new Tyler Perry movie, Why Did I Get Married Again? They're going to be sharing their story about why they got married. So Dr. Anissa Short and Coach Alfonso Short is part of it. Dr. Velma Bagby, I don't know if she's still on with us, and her husband, Bruce Bagby, as well as Chris and Kate Thurman. They're the three that are part of the Conversations Media Group team that are sharing their stories as we're helping to cross promote the movie coming out September the 9th. I'm very excited about being able to have you be a part of that, Anissa. But talk to us about Love and Laughter. What has that experience been like for you to be able to talk directly with couples, share their stories as well?
Love and Laughter has been a joy. It really has. It was something my husband and I may have shared this once before, but the inception was really to host events, date night events when we lived in North Carolina. After moving, I didn't want to stop the momentum we had created. We just needed to pivot and repackage it. And that's when we decided to do a monthly Love and Laughter feature. And then we were advised by someone in the media circle that it needed to be a weekly experience. And so we embraced that. We're doing it weekly. It's been a lot of fun. And August is our month to really implement and to hone in on the why did I get married concept. So every
Mm-hmm.
couple that we have, that's one question that we're asking. And even today in one of my recordings, I made reference to the movie that's coming out in September, and that's where we're leading up to it because the Thursday that follows the debut of the movie, our Love and Laughter is going to be a premiere after party where we're going to talk about the movie as well as continue the conversation. Love and Laughter is our way of celebrating the union of marriage, to celebrate
Yeah.
the covenant of marriage, and to do so not just to share our stories, but to also celebrate the weddings and the marriages of other people and allow people from all walks of life to share their stories as well. We want to focus on the positive, knowing that sometimes there may be some negative connotations to marriage, but we see enough of that. We wanted to do our part to bring the positive to the forefront, and the Love and Laughter experience is our small way of doing that.
Love that. Excited about that. And I have some more surprises I'm going to share later. I'm
I
not going to
love
get into
surprises.
me too. I like surprises too. So make sure you guys are looking out for that. The first video in our series goes out tomorrow. It does feature, as I mentioned, Dr. Anissa Short and Coach Alfonso Short. We're real excited about that. And make sure you guys are watching your social media because it'll be all over social media as well. So I want to wrap up here by talking about advice that you may have, Anissa. So here you are being able to, as I call it in my world, playing in different sandboxes. You get to write books. You get to be out there interviewing people. You're helping to coach people, inspire people. What do you hope, kind of coming full circle with this conversation, that people realize about the importance of using all the gifts that they've been given?
There's a scripture, and I may phrase it wrong, but it says your gifts will make room for you and bring you
Hmm.
before great men.
Hmm.
I truly believe that, and oftentimes we limit ourselves in that our gifts are only used for that traditional job, which is good to be gainfully employed. But I submit to everyone that the same skills, gifts, and talents that you use to develop and to dedicate to someone else's business can be used to create your own.
Yeah.
Find a lane to run in and make the most of it, because while you might do a great job and may be greatly appreciated on that job, is nothing like being in your own space to create your own. And so that's what I encourage. Your gifts are transferable. Continue to do what you do that you love, but also find a way to create something for yourself using those same gifts and talents, because they will make room for you and bring you before great men.
Such a great point. I totally agree with that. Again, everyone, Dr. Nessa Short has been our guest. Her newest book, again on Amazon, have it highlighted for you guys, is Why I Said Yes. Get it now while it's on sale there on Amazon. Take advantage of that. Dr. Nessa, always a pleasure. How can our audience stay connected with you?
Find me on social media, LinkedIn and Facebook. I am Dr. Anissa Short. On my YouTube channel, guess what? It's Dr. Anissa Short. And then for some reason, Instagram is slightly different. Dr. Anissa C. Short. Thank you
Okay.
so much again, Cyrus, for this opportunity.
Look, always a pleasure. Glad to have you part of our Why Did I Get Married Again creation as well. Glad to have you part of that. And glad to have all of you joining us here for another edition of Cyrus Webb Presents. Until next time, you all make it a great one. We'll talk to you all soon. You take care.